in the scenario I provided, where a woman, a company, and perhaps the owners of the company was a woman or a group of women, and they refused to hire men because they're men, you did seem to concede that that would be sexist.
And then I changed my mind.
Oh, so it wouldn't be sexist. It would be what?
Well, I think it depends on the context. Like I said before, if it's a group for women, to advocate for women,
would it be?
Then yes, you can exclude anyone who is not a woman. But if it's a group like where there are a mix of some, but maybe the majority are women, and you're excluding a man based on the grounds that he's a man, then yes, you're being prejudiced towards a man.
Sexist.
Prejudice.
Sexist.
Okay.
Okay. Well, but the exact same scenario, but it's being done to women, would be prejudice or sexist?
Sexist.
So is your definition of sexism prejudice plus power?
Yes.
And you're saying men hold the power, women don't?
Yes.
Okay. And so wouldn't it be the case that, let's say I'm a male, and I'm from I came out of poverty, and I'm applying to be a janitor at a woman's company, and the board is made up predominantly of women. The owner's a woman. She's a billionaire. And I'm applying for a $30,000 a year job at this company. She's a billionaire, mind you.
Touch My Blade donated $200. The young lady's arguments are very flawed, and that is why she almost broke down and needed a break for very basic questions. Just take the L as everyone else sees the L you already took.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Touch My Blade. In the scenario, the formerly impoverished janitorial worker applying for a company that's predominantly owned by women, the owner of the company she's a female billionaire. She refuses to hire this male janitor because he's male. Is this sexist?
Prejudice.
Hold on. Who holds the power?
She was
In
talking
this,
about
I'm saying in the grand scheme of things.
No. It's not in the grand scheme of things. It's a specific example.
In a world of...
In a world
matter.
where a woman's a billionaire.
Where the one woman is a billionaire. In a world full of men that hold power.
Okay.
You have to look at the context of things. You can't just look at one hypothetical situation.
So does she not have power?
She does.
So she has power plus prejudice equals racism. You conceded she has power. Hold on. Do you concede she has power?
Yes.
Do you concede that she's prejudiced?
Yes.
It meets your own definition of racism.
Power in the grand scheme of things.
Oh, wow. Okay, now, was it shifting the goalpost here a little bit? I thought it was just prejudice plus power.
Power in the grand scheme of things. Sorry, I didn't clarify that
This
earlier.
is even a new definition. This is a Super Saiyan level 3.
No, I just didn't clarify earlier because that wasn't asked.
I've never even heard that. This is new. This is new feminist
rhetoric. You've never heard that things need to be taken into context and the historical significance of things need to be considered?
Many times.
Yeah, I have too.
Many times.
Am I, bro, I'm a little confused, man. You bamboozled me with this one. Hold on. In the grand scheme of things. Wait, let's pull up the two images I sent you, Austin.
They're both the same link.
Oh, wait, really? Hold on.
So you don't have the time.
Hold on.
What time is
I'll
it?
send you. There it is. Okay, milk toast pushback.
All right, so just power through another hour.
Let me try this one. Okay, that should be another one. Can you get the other one? That should be a different one. Oh, can one of you guys take your seat?
That's not your fault.
Anissa, can you take the seat?
I spent $1,000 to come here.
What's that?
Said I spent like $1,000 to come here, and you're sitting there just talking to her without talking to other people.
And we've been talking to everybody.
We've been talking to
Including
everybody.
you.
We spent 30 minutes on you.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry that with your
Bullshit.
TikTok brain, you haven't received the appropriate amount of attention that would keep you adequately entertained.
She's sitting here saying that you guys are talking to her too much, and that she wants.
She's
to hear
trying to
other
weasel out of the argument.
No, I'm confident in my stance, and I said we can keep going, but I think the whole point of a group debate is to hear everyone's perspectives, and it's just turned into this one-on-one.
Well, we'll pull up these images and then I'll get right to you.
I
So,
don't care if you talk to me.
the world according to a feminist, oppressed. Just curious, do you agree? So the
Is it
women over
so?
there who are probably upper middle class or whatever, are they oppressed? And the homeless male,
This is
he's
dumb.
privileged? How's it dumb? The majority of men are homeless. Is that dumb?
That's like a whole different layer. Homelessness. That's like a whole nother. More men experience that than women.
So this was the argument I was going to make earlier. So you said it's not a comparison game between men and women. Actually, that is the genesis of feminism. Women have it worse in comparison to men. But my actual counter is that not only today, but even historically, men have been more oppressed than women, and men have had it worse historically compared to women.
Is that why more men are in government than women and get to make the decisions about what happens?
Apex fallacy. That's very cool. So we can talk about, the small proportion of men who occupy these sort of higher positions of power and who perhaps have some better life outcomes. Although I would argue the vast majority of men have worse life outcomes on average than women.
Why?
Well, they die earlier. That's one.
I mean, that's
But not
That's
only
just
that.
what?
That's just like natural. I mean, how is that?
And
All the victims of war are men, the ones who die in
Well,
war,
I don't-
most
I don't-
dangerous jobs.
Only men were being drafted, women were in love.
Well, I mean, if we were just
Sorry?
going to go move off of what's natural,
Who created
then
that system?
that's childbirth too. Childbirth's natural, and that has been one of the number one killers of women. And it seems like we've unnaturally extended their lives, right? So I mean, I wouldn't appeal to nature. Like, I understand what you're saying. I get it. My rebuttal to this is just always simple. It's like, I just reject your definition of what is racism and sexism.
Yeah,
I don't think
those are the grounds we disagree
Yeah.
on. I don't think there's a common ground for that.
Yeah, I don't think
I agree
that,
with that.
prejudice plus power means anything. It's just like this kind of bizarre, or non-introspective but historical perspective, but only from standpoint, which is the theory that you learned, right? Standpoint. This is from the stand of women, the point of view from women. And that's where intersectionality comes from. And it's like, just reject it. I just don't think that, I think if I claim that racism is you just don't like a person based on the color of their skin, you could never give me a reason why that wasn't valid other than you just didn't like that reason, right?
Yeah, no, I just think we disagree on the foundational grounds of where the argument would even go.
Can you guys close the doors, by the way? So, I'm actually curious to hear, and if the other panelists want to weigh in, can any of you name a greater gender grievance than? Well, actually, first I need to ask a couple questions. What percentage of military casualties? What's the gender breakdown there?
But
Mainly men. Mainly men.
99 historically.
I don't know the number, but
Yeah.
high.
So, can any of you name a bigger gendered grievance than forced military conscription?
Forced sex work in third world countries.
Forced sex work in
Forced marriage for children.
So,
Yeah,
do
sex
any?
trafficking.
Okay, so how many people do you think there's more women who have been involved in forced sex work
About
than there
marriage.
have been men who have been essentially, and it's not even just conscription, it's the gendered expectation on men that men ought to be the protectors of nations. Now, I don't necessarily object to this, but we can't ignore the fact that this is a gendered expectation. So even men who volunteer for the military, there is some degree of force there that's being applied. But
And why is that? Why is that?
Yeah, who decided that more men were going to fight than women?
Yeah.
Men.
Tiny strata of powerful people.
so,
Wait, repeat that? Sorry.
A tiny strata of powerful people.
wait, so just to be clear, so how many women do you think have been forced into sex work?
well, there's sex
I'm not
trafficking.
sure.
Do you think it's
Yeah.
more than the amount of men that have been forced into a military role?
No.
No, but who forced them into that role?
Yeah, right?
Okay, that doesn't really even address the argument.
It does. It's directly
No.
addressing the argument.
Nope.
You're saying that men forced them into it?
You're saying, but the
It was
men
created
though.
by men.
No.
A system created. Well, what if I told you that women leaders, women monarchs, women queens, more likely to engage in warfare than their male counterparts.
Repeat it?
Male
Sorry.
queens were more likely to
They're female
wage
queens.
war. Or, excuse me.
go
Female
into war?
queens were more likely.
Hail and well met. Lol Paladins donated $200.02. Brian, when will you learn? The definition of sexism is actually man bad, woman good. The definition of racism is white bad, brown good. Black best. PS love line figured out call-ins 30 years ago.
Even if it, first off, it's not clear to me if it's men or people with power or the elite.
That made it?
Well, you're saying, okay, all those men that had to go to war, well, who was it? Even if it was men,
Yeah.
is it because they're men or because they had power?
The men in power made it so that men would go to war because they saw
Right,
women
but
as weak.
there's been queens who have had power. So is it because they're men or is it because they have power?
Because that's the social norm.
What percentage of men have power?
I don't know.
What percentage of men throughout history
Yeah.
had the power to send other men to war?
I don't know them. I don't know.
It's a very small amount, though, right? Yeah.
Okay. So does it have more to do with people who hold power or the fact that they're men?
People that hold power because they view men as stronger, so they're going to send men to war. Say women are too weak to fight.
Right, but-
more men are going to die.
This would defeat your claim of your sort of fallacious rebuttal to, well, I'm going to disregard your claims about, well, here are how men are more oppressed by just sort of diverting to.
Living underscore donated $200. C. Andrew wins just BC, he's hot. Brian only wins BC, he waterboards. Sexism sounds worse than prejudice, but it's the same thing. They want to be the only ones who can use the term against men.
Living, thank you for the TTS, man. Appreciate it. Okay, so it's a very small proportion of people who've had power throughout history. The people in power are the ones who tend to dictate whether someone goes to war or not, whether there is war or not. It's not like throughout history, it's not like it's been voted on by the populace. It's just you have a dictator, a lord, a liege lord, whatever it is, a king, a monarch saying, okay, we're going to go to war with this country, blah, blah, blah. So it's not because they're men, it's because they have power. Now, going
Still
back
the
to my
majority-
thing,
the
I
major-
still haven't heard an answer to name a gender grievance greater than forced military conscription.
Forced marriage?
I don't think that that's a greater grievance than forced military conscription.
You know, even kind of on the idea that I would just kind of grant it again. Okay, sure. You know, men, they're the ones who conscript other men, right? And make them go out and fight in the wars. But kind of even if that's true, so what, right? Ultimately, wouldn't the grievance that men would have still be similar to the same type of oppression that women are claiming men give to them, right?
Yes, it is a grievance. But still, a majority of men don't think women are suited for war.
Well, they're
Wait,
not.
What?
They're not?
No.
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 So you can't complain about
Yeah.
a grievance that you're okay with.
Why?
And
Why?
also compared to
whoa,
another
whoa.
one, what's greater?
That's
Sex
weird.
trafficking. Maybe not numerically.
Hang on. That's weird. That's
Oh,
weird.
then I
Hang
should
on.
put it in.
Wait, just to be.
I just want to do one claim at a time. That's all. And I'm
Okay, I'm
willing to
sorry.
get.
No, I'm sorry. That was-
Yeah, I'm willing to get to the sex trafficking. Just
By the way, talk to these other girls, but also let me input.
What? But the thing is, it's
No,
like.
that was my bad.
No, you're good. You're good. I just want to answer to the first claim, right? You were talking about a system that you agree with, right? Well, I may not agree with the government going to war with another nation, right? But I would still have to agree to conscript, or else I don't have any rights.
But you agree women
Hang
are
on,
not
hang on,
suited.
hang on. Otherwise, I don't have rights. I don't have the right to own a gun. I don't have the right to vote. All those rights go away the second I don't sign up for the draft. And historically, this has been the case where if men don't swear fealty to a lord or things like that, they can't own land. They can't live on the land. They can't even be a part of the nation, right? No such fealty oaths have been required traditionally of women. Just because you say, well, you're the only ones who have the capacity to do the thing, doesn't mean it's not an oppression that you are forced to do the thing only because you're the one with the capacity. That's absurd, right? So I don't really understand why, even if it were true that it's men who are forcing men to do this, that if women's grievances against men, right, then wouldn't that negate their grievance, right? Because we say, okay, well, men are just oppressive to men as they are to women then.
It is a real grievance. I don't think that this grievance is not accepted. It's very real. It's very sad.
Yeah. So then I don't really understand the pushback of, but don't you think that men are the ones who can fight? Yeah, I do. I think that men are much better equipped to fight in warfare than women, don't you?
I think it depends, really. I feel like women can help in other ways. They can help with
Yeah, but the fighting part.
Fighting. Well, there's doctors in the war. There's
Yeah,
so
but
much to it.
What are they fighting with? An infection?
They're helping wounds. They're still putting their lives at risk. They're in risk too.
Yeah,
helping save these people.
the doctors who are on the field getting shot at in the field are men, right? I mean, that's a combat medic, right? Men are going to be better suited for that than women, aren't they?
Yeah, and I guess, yes.
Like, let me ask it a different way.
Okay.
When you're walking down the street and you just see people lifting up heavy shit off the ground,
Yeah.
okay, do you
Touch My Blade donated $200. Wait, so men in the majority of power, men in ultimate power voted out SL Ferry. Voted for women to vote. So all of the rights you have were voted in by the very oppressors you have issue with.
It's kind of an interesting point, but I think we can kind of sidestep it for a second, just kind of figure this out, right?
Thank you, Blade.
When you're just walking down the street and just things you observe around you, the people who lift the heaviest amount of shit, are they men or women?
Typically men, yes.
Why?
Because they're biologically stronger.
Much stronger, right?
But some women can be strong too.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
There are some strong, very strong women. I have no doubt that there are many women on this planet who are much, much stronger than me.
Are they not capable to fight in war?
I don't think that ultimately we would want to create a policy around trying to find really strong women to fight our wars, because we're just not going to find very many of them,
Well,
right?
I don't think we need to find strong women. Women can still help. Yeah, they're not going to be on combat, but they can still help.
Yeah, but
Takes
but,
less men out of being drafted.
Yeah, sure. But even then, even if we were to draft based along that, you're in a support role.
Okay.
You're still not in a combat role. So where do you die? You die in the combat, right? You don't die making the MREs. You die in the field trying to get to the MRE to eat, right? So the question ultimately becomes, if you have the sex with the capacity to do this, meaning the other army's all men, would you rather have an all-male army to oppose them? You're a general now, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're in charge of the entire United States Armed Forces. The enemy outnumbers you, and it's all men. Would you prefer to have an all-male army to oppose them?
I think it depends on the physical capability. If women are physically capable with the men, or if men are not capable enough, they're too skinny, they're not strong enough to fight, some men wouldn't be capable.
Yeah, but on average, don't you think that men would be much stronger, more equipped to do this?
Yes.
Yeah. They just can, right? They can carry way more gear. They can load the tanks better. They can do all of this stuff better because they're physically stronger. So obviously, if your job is to kill other human beings, you're going to try to move towards the sex which is much stronger, right? Like, that just kind of tracks, doesn't it?
I feel like you should move who has strength, not the sex, just strength in general.
Yeah, but here's
There's weak men.
But here's the thing: even if that's true,
Yes.
and we find every single woman who can go on par with men, necessarily through her idea of intersectionality, it would still be men doing the lion's share of this fighting. There's no way around that, right? So, like, even if we found all of the women who like can fight just as good as the men can on the front line, necessarily it's going to be far less of them, right?
Yes.
So it would still be men who would be oppressed in that position, right? So if that is the case, right, and this grievance is there, because the capacity is only there for men to really be able to do this, you would not want to make policy around trying to find, just like drafting. What a waste of resource it would be to, like, get 1,000 women in for 3 potential candidates who could be soldiers.
Well, you see their skills, they can do other things, though.
Yeah, but they're not battling, right? That's the problem.
War is not only battle. There's so much that goes into war.
Yeah, but the big part, right, the part that you need is the guys in the field with the bullets, right? You need that. That's not negotiable, right? It can be men making the MREs or women making the MREs, but it really isn't going to be women who are going to be doing the actual fighting, right?
So would you feel more safe? Like, let's say, would you feel like you're going to win a war if it's like, let's say your group is women fighting against men. Would you feel safer behind the women against the men, or would you feel safer against the men against men?
Are they sharpshooters? If they're good with their guns?
It's just women or men.
If they're good with their guns, I'd feel safe either way.
Well, which sex do you think would be better at that, just on average?
Guns?
Yeah.
Shooting?
Yeah.
Women or men?
Men.
Yeah, men.
Because it's been men shooting for the majority of the time. Women haven't been in these
It's
roles.
also just
We're
because they're
getting into
stronger.
these roles.
Right? It's just because they're stronger.
Aim?
Guns are heavy.
Yeah, guns
That's
are really
true.
heavy. And by the way, when you aim, you're holding the gun up,
Mm-hmm.
right? Very heavy gun, and you're holding it up for a long, long period of time.
Well,
So
you're
the-
trained, so I mean. You're
Yeah,
gonna-
but you have to train. There has to be the capacity to be trained. And so that capacity is going to have X amount of like muscle mass, right? And so like this is what we see when we look at police departments and things like this. When they try to bring women in, they have to lower the standard so that women can meet the standard. They're not raising the standard, right? They lower it so that women can then do the job. So the ultimate question just kind of becomes, if that is the case, it's always going to be optimal to have men in the military, at least in the majority, to do the fighting portion of that, right? So if that is the case, then again, men are going to have that grievance.
Okay.
And so how does that get balanced? How does that
Grievance?
how does that grievance get balanced, that because men necessarily are the ones who must do that, because they're the only ones who can do that? And even if some women can do that, and even do that with the men, it's still mostly going to get men, or be men who do that. What special thing do they get? Like,
Do
what
men?
special thing should we give them that only they have?
Men?
Yeah.
Wait, I don't understand.
The men who are doing all of this fighting and
Oh,
whatnot. Yeah.
that's-
What special cookie do they get? Are they now an oppressed class?
They get benefits after war.
So would the women.
That's true.
I think they're just respected more.
Respect.
Respected
So
more.
would the women.
Exactly.
So what special thing does this one intersectional group get that necessarily has all of its power stripped? What?
Power.
What
They
power?
Are they are most of the people in government who make rules.
Are
and
fighting on the
laws.
front lines of wars?
The men, yes.
Yeah, that's okay. So wait.
That's what they get. That's what they get to control where this country goes.
So just so I get this right, are you striving for a nation where women have at least 50% of the power to men?
Yeah.
Well, then that negates this entire argument, because you would still have this intersectional grievance here of men who are on the front lines battling.
And we don't have any.
I don't
Hang on,
think-
hang
I
on,
don't-
hang on. One argument at a time, right? You would still have this intersectional grievance of all of these men who only have the capacity to do this, where women do not have the capacity to do this. And even if we were to find all the ones that did, it would still mostly be men. You saying now we have a split power dynamic, there's a 50% women, 50% men in government. What's the special thing you're going to do to offset that for men?
Why does there have to be a special thing after a
Well, why does
grievance?
there have to be? What? I'm sorry. Does there need to be affirmative
Why do
action?
you get like a?
Wait,
why
does
do
there need to
men
be
get like a sticker for fighting?
What is affirmative action? Isn't that to correct grievances in intersections that are oppressed historically?
Yes.
Okay, well then that's exactly what I'm asking for the draft. I'm asking for an intersection for a grievance that historically have only affected men.
Right, and that's why mostly men are in government, and they get to
But
decide
you're
what
striving
happens.
to take them mostly out of government or only equalize power. So if that's the case, you're
Oh,
not
I see.
actually.
I see what
Yeah.
you're. Okay, I see what you're arguing. That makes sense. That does make sense. Yeah, I mean, I just think I think I go back to, why do men need a sticker for fighting?
Then why do
If
why?
that's if that's their only option, if women can't fight, then
They can't.
why if that's the only option, should they get awarded for something that only they can do? Like, if I don't know, that's
Well, wait a second. So was this like communism? Like from each according to their according to what they can
I personally come from a
do?
stance where there shouldn't even be war, so I feel like I'm the bad person to talk to.
Yeah, I mean, not really though, right?
What is
I would just agree.
When is there an award for grievances?
What is affirmative action?
Define it.
That would be giving special hiring treatment or things like this to people of color because they have historically been oppressed.
Well, it's more
Hang
like
on.
it's more
Isn't
like
that-
balancing the playing grounds, because that's
Well, then tell me how you balance the playing grounds. For now, we have this entire group of men, and they're the only ones who have the capacity to do the one thing we need more than anything else, which is national security,
you're
national
saying
defense.
They should be mostly in government then.
Well, I'm asking you how you make this offset for intersectionality.
I don't know. I don't have a solution for that because
Women don't ever think about the fact that there is a historic oppression towards men that only men have ever bore. right? Well, I'm asking you. I'm giving you your opportunity to tell me why that's not true, and you're just kind of like, well, it is true. I just don't give a fuck, right? It's like, it's true. I just don't care because they can. And so I'm like, but that goes against this entire idea of intersectionality.
No, I just think, I mean, I'm coming from a place where I don't think war should even.
Oh, okay. Well, hang on. But then I'm coming from a place where all of us should just be one race. And all of us should just be one sex.
Yep.
If all of us were just one race and one sex, we would never have any of these. And all of us should be the exact same strength, the exact same height, the exact same eye color, exact same everything. And then we just don't have to worry about
Touch
it.
My Blade
Aliens.
donated $200. Does she understand what a draft is? Lukewarm IQ.
No, she understands fine. She's contending with the idea, and I think that's fine. You can contend with the idea. It's not being disrespectful, not being disrespectful back. We're having a nice conversation. But I would genuinely enjoy kind of getting your perspective on that, right? I don't actually understand how this grievance from the intersectionality standpoint is actually ever addressed if you're striving to equalize the sexes when it comes to government. Every other grievance from every other group, which has been historically oppressed, including women as a monolith by your logic, still needs to be offset. But for some reason, men don't get those same benefits, and I don't actually understand why. Yeah, I just, that's my question, right? It's like, why? Shouldn't they get some kind of like intersectional, I don't know, reward of some sort?
Sure. I just can't give you an answer. I think that's something that's where we're at as a country. I think trying to figure out a balance of those intersectionalities. So I can't really give a solution for what the country should do to balance that out. Mm-hmm. But I agree that it should be balanced out somehow.
Somehow.
And I don't have an answer for you for that.